Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Bruce. Today I'm going to show you how I made these simple float frames. My niece is a very talented artist and she actually painted these as a gift and they're fantastic. I love them. She asked if I could make some frames for her. I had the idea of doing a float frame. The person she's giving it to is not crazy about metallics, so we went with a white on the outside. I did a matte black on the inside so that that kind of disappears into the shadow. I love the way they turned out, so let me show you how I made them. I started out this project with some poplar that I had left over from a previous project. I just ripped some of the rough edges off from that project, cut it to rough length, and then started cutting some miters in there. These were going to be small frames, so I was going to be able to get quite a few out of each of these pieces. Then for the inside miters, I ripped them in half so that they were even smaller. I started by just gluing up the miters and tacking a couple of brad nails in them. This was going to be fine for our purposes. In fact, I was going to cover the holes with some joint compound later. Be sure not to have your finger in front of this as you shoot the nail in. Don't ask me why. I try to keep a damp rag on hand just to clean up the glue. It tends to make things go a little easier. Then I got my smaller pieces and started marking from the actual frame how wide I needed those pieces to be. I used a spacer block, as you can see here, just to set it up off of the bottom a little bit. I just use regular joint compound to fill in the nail holes and patch any blemishes that I saw. Then I use some 220 sandpaper to sand it back off and make it nice and smooth. If you have a couple spots on your miters that don't meet up perfectly, that's okay, because you can just use some joint compound. Here I'm using my HomeRite small spray tint, and it works really well to sit right on top of my bench. I made these makeshift handles out of just sticking some blue tape down inside the frame, and that way I could pick them up and rotate them after I had painted them and get the other side. I use my Super Finish Max sprayer on this. This is non-diluted paint, and it is actually an exterior paint that I have that is a flat white. It works great. I sprayed 2 coats on each of them. After that had dried for a little while, I came back and masked off the white part so that I could paint the black on the inside. For this I'm using Color Shot, and this is a matte black. It is a really super dark black, and I wanted that so that the paintings looked like they were floating inside the frame. This paint covers really well, and it only took 2 light coats, and they only take about 15 minutes to dry in between. It's a really nice premium spray paint. After removing the masking, you see some nice crisp lines. For the first frame, I started securing it with some screws that I had on hand and some washers, but one of the screws, I guess it was just a cheap screw, and the head of the screw actually popped off, so it broke off inside of the frame and I was able to secure it with one other. So I decided to try a different tactic for the following frames. For these, I just got them lined up, and then I used my brad nailer to nail a couple of nails into the back side of it. All it needs is to hold these paintings just enough so that they won't move around. This seemed to work just fine. These things were so unique and so cool, and I love how they look like they're floating in these frames. So yeah, this was a fun project. This one happens to be my favorite, not the frame, but the painting. They're just a simple mitered frame with a simple mitered frame inside of that, and then two different sections of paint. I've got the outside paint, and then the inside I used a flat black. Color Shot sent me some of their different colors to play with, and I used a matte black. It was fantastic. The thing dried in about 15 minutes and I was able to recoat it again, and the coverage was just awesome. I did not prime the inside of this, so 2 light coats of that paint covered it. So thanks, Color Shot. I'll link below to some of their items. I pulled pretty heavily from Jon Peters. He has been a big inspiration with lots of art related things and frames and just making in general. So I'll link his channel below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, go ahead and click over here. I've got a couple other videos queued up, and be sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'll see you next time.